Happy days.
Hello everyone, I'm with Amy again, and we're just going to talk about the driving test that she had. You've obviously seen that the mock test that she had, but unfortunately it didn't go so well on the driving test.
Yeah.
It was her first attempt. So what we're going to do, we're going to be talking about how she felt when we were sitting outside the test centre, then in the waiting room, then the table, then the bonnet. She had to go under the bonnet, it's a safety question. Inside the car, the junction where she failed, the result, the drive home, and the first lesson back. So we're going to start off. How did you feel when you were outside the test centre waiting for the test?
I think on the day I was obviously bricking it. I was so nervous, but I sort of had this thing of if I fake it until I make it. If I pretend that I'm not nervous, then I won't actually be nervous on the test. It was good, wasn't it? Because I was quite calm.
I thought you were calm.
And yeah, I was just I wasn't letting any nerves show, and I was just yeah, it's going to be a good test. But I think in the back of my mind I was petrified, and I also didn't know what to expect either.
Right, so the unknown to the known.
Yeah,
now, so you know what it's like for your next one.
100%.
So in the waiting room, what were your thoughts there?
Waiting room's awful. It's literally the most depressing room in the world, and I just wish you could just wait in your car and the examiner'd come out for you. But I think the waiting room is sort of it does, I don't know, I feel it's there to scare you a bit, and everyone's waiting there, and then people's names are getting called out, and it is just terrifying. But yeah, I remember I was nervous in the waiting room. I think I was a bit quiet, wasn't I?
Yeah, you really was, yeah. So let's go to the bit where he came up, called your name, and asked you to go over to the table.
So the table was absolutely massive. I needed stilts to get on top of the table, and I'm only 4'11", so I am quite tiny. So he took me to this big massive table, and then he was like, you need to sign this document. But I was on my tiptoes trying to sign it on the iPad. She was like, oh, we'll take you to this smaller table, which obviously I was a bit embarrassed about then, because I was he was nice about it, so I didn't feel too embarrassed, but it was still just a bit just put me off a bit.
And I seen you when you came back to the smaller table.
Yeah.
So I knew there was maybe you're probably thinking, oh, what's this about?
Yeah.
So after that, you went outside, and he asked you to open the bonnet. Now tell them about the problems with the bonnet.
So again, because I am quite small, it's hard to reach the bonnet. I struggle with it. I'm always on my tiptoes when we do it, and so I put the stay up, and then I pointed to something that he'd said about the safety question, and then as I was trying to undo the stay, I just couldn't reach it. So again, I did feel a bit embarrassed, and it threw me off, and I was oh, sorry about this, trying to make a laugh out of it. And he was fine, but it was just, I was there for a bit longer than I should have been because I couldn't reach the bonnet properly.
So when you first got inside the car with him, was you still thinking about anything like that? So when you first asked after the bonnet,
yeah,
what was you thinking when you got in the car? And was you feeling a little bit embarrassed, or?
I was just sort of right, okay, that's the hard stuff done, get in the car. And when I was in the car, I was just more I was making sure everything was right, but at the same time he's checking things on the car, and then he touched the camera and stuff, and it does throw you off a bit because you don't know what they're doing. And yeah, so it was just sort of that anticipation of right, he's going to tell me to go soon, and just waiting for him to be ready. So yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking in the car, especially because this is it.
Did you think that it might have affected the way what had happened previously in the waiting room and at the table, that it might have had any effect on you?
Yeah, because I think I actually did feel as nervous as I was when we were waiting in the car beforehand. I did feel calm, but after all of that I didn't feel calm at all. I felt like a bag of nerves.
So let's go to the junction where you failed. You got one serious.
Yeah. So the junction I failed, I think it was the first 5 minutes of my test, and it was on a dual carriageway, and he told me to turn left. And so I did, but I was looking right. I was just looking at the traffic coming, so I wasn't looking where I was supposed to be going. So as I turned left onto the dual carriageway, I got on the left hand side, and then I realised, shit, there's loads of cars in front of me, parked cars. So I was like, I need to get over to the right hand side. So, but I don't know, in that moment everything just feels rushed, so I was like, I need to get over. So I looked back behind and I thought this car was letting me past, but as I was going he just sped past me, and then the examiner grabbed the wheel, and after that I was just like, oh, I've failed, haven't I?
Yeah.
But because the test carried on, I sort of was just like, oh, maybe he didn't, maybe he hasn't written it down, or maybe like I've passed, or tried to like, you know, start a conversation with him, and it was like a good chat in the car, so I thought, oh, maybe he's forgotten about it. But obviously when it got to the end,
we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But just when we're on the bit where you failed, what would you do next time when you're at a junction?
Just look both ways. Like, what do you say, tennis match? I was so, because there was loads of cars coming from the right, I was so focused on the right that I would have just looked right, left. I would have seen, okay, I need to go onto the right hand side because there's cars on the left hand side.
Yeah.
And I would have passed, because I only got 3 minors after that, didn't I?
So you had one series and that. And if you actually just looked left and looked the tennis, the server, the net, the receiver, you probably wouldn't be sitting there making this video.
Yeah.
So then the results, what did you feel like when he gave you the result? I know you said you might have thought he'd give you it.
Yeah, because I just thought, I had the assumption that if you failed, you go straight back to the test centre, and obviously because that was in my first 5 minutes, thought, oh, like, he's forgotten about it, like, it's fine, like, and we were having good chats, and he was dead friendly. But then, yeah, when he got back, he was like, obviously, you know, you failed, and I was just like, oh no. I was gutted, wasn't I?
It's amazing the way your mind thinks down the driving test. It goes all over the place, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
but I think that it was a good thing, because basically in my lessons in the past, when I've made a mistake, like I get thrown off, don't I? And I'm in a world of my own, and I make loads of mistakes afterwards. But in that moment when I turned into the dual carriageway and he grabbed the wheel, at that moment I was like, I'm not going to let this impact the rest of my test. I was like, just keep driving as if you haven't failed. And then it paid off, because I only got 3 minors afterwards, didn't I? So
that's a really good tip, that, for anyone listening out there.
Definitely, because I get into my own head so many times when I make a mistake, but I was like, I cannot afford to be in my own head. And I was just like, pretend that you haven't failed, even though you probably know you have. Pretend you haven't failed, and the rest of the drive was really smooth. Yeah.
So then we'll go to the drive home, when I was driving you home.
Oh my god. I'm so, because we were going to film a video of like the whole process, weren't we? And I'm so glad we didn't, because I was an absolute sobbing mess. I felt really bad for you, because you were just like...
I was traumatised by the time I got you home.
I'm crying. You had to pull over, didn't you, to just calm me down before I got home. Because I was just, I think, because I was playing it cool at the start of when I was waiting outside for the test, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, like, it's going to be fine. I think that guard was let go, and I just, truly.
So that bit where you said earlier on that you were really nervous, more than you made out to be.
Yeah, definitely.
You built yourself up to that. Yeah. I've got to do this first time. There was a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, 100%.
And the last one was the first lesson after you failed your test.
Yeah.
You wanted to mention this?
Because I feel like, obviously once you fail, like, you do feel a bit shit, like, and it's normal to feel like embarrassed and stuff, like, even though you've got nothing to feel embarrassed about, like, I still did feel embarrassed. But yeah, when we were organising our first lesson back, and when I was like, it was the day of the first lesson back, I was petrified, because like I felt like I let you down, even though, like, I know you wouldn't have, like, you would have told me to stop being silly. But like, I felt like I've let you down, I felt like I've let myself down, and I felt like a bit of a failure walking back into the car. But then as soon as that, like, we were driving, I was like, oh, this is, you know, I'm okay with doing this. And I think after we talked about everything that happened, it was just like, okay, it's forgotten about now, let's focus on your next test.
Let's go on the next one. And the other thing we mentioned as well, because the people want to know about the strikes, which I've just thought about it now, because you're talking about what we were going to talk about before. How did you feel when because second test, by the way, was cancelled because of the strike? Well, they're saying because there's no examiner, but it's down to the strikers. What's the date today? The 14th of January, is it?
14th, yeah.
They went on strike from the 13th of December. I've had quite a few other pupils who've had their test cancelled as well.
Yeah.
So what did you think when they sent you that message and says because you were due, your test was due on Monday, wasn't it?
Monday,
the
yeah.
16th, wasn't it?
16th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was it the 16th one? What's the date?
11th, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, so yours was due then, and then they sent you the message. Was it the other day?
The other day, yeah.
What did you think when they sent you that? Did you think you'd done something wrong?
No, but I was just annoyed more than anything. Like, I understand why they're going on strike, but I was just like, I thought because it was this late on, I thought, oh, like, you know, I've missed the mark where they're doing the strikes. And because my first test was November, wasn't it? And then I didn't want to book a test in December because I was like, there's going to be loads of strikes and it's the run up to Christmas. So I was like, I'll wait till January, and then booked the first one I could find in January, and now it's obviously been moved to February. So it's just like, it's hard because there's a lot more pressure riding on it now, because it's like, again, it's the wait times. It's, you can't just do a test and be like, oh, I'll come back in 3 weeks and do it again. It's that you have to wait so long to do another test.
But it turns out that this is how many tests are being cancelled. The test that you were moved to, I already had a test booked for somebody else at the same test centre, Norris Green, but it was an hour before, so it would have been really difficult to do the two. But this is how it is now with these strikes. The test before you, that got cancelled as well, so you had a bit of luck there, didn't you? Yeah. So otherwise I wouldn't have been able to take her on the one that she got cancelled, because I already had someone else, but theirs got cancelled. So anyone out there, I've had a few comments on my YouTube channel saying, has this happened to any of my pupils? Well, there's living proof. Yeah. Caitlin is not here, obviously. It happened to her, it's happened to Joe, and it's happened to a few others. Just can't think of exactly who it is, but there's been about 4 I've had that have had their test cancelled and delayed. By the way, the furthest one that got delayed was the end of April, and I think that was Joe.
That's mad, that, isn't it?
So, anything else to say before we go?
I think to anyone who's like failed the test, just know that it's okay to feel how you feel, but don't let it stop you from driving again, because the fear is bigger than the driving itself. Like, you'll get back in the car and be like, oh, I know how to do this, but it's that fear that stops you from wanting to go again, or like that embarrassment of like, oh well, I've let my instructor down, because we haven't, you know. We're human, we make mistakes, and I think I think now more than ever it's just important to keep driving and keep just getting ready for the test. Keep
your dream alive. Amy makes a good point there, because I have had a few over the years where they fail and they never come back and they never get the licence. But you know, you're determined to get your licence, and we're going to go back there again. And fingers crossed for you, you're going to pass. Anyway, I'd like to say thank you to Amy for doing this test, because it's not easy coming in and start talking about what happened and especially how you feel. Do you want to mention your YouTube channel? Yeah,
I've got a YouTube channel. Sure, Peter will link it below. But I just make sort of videos about like mental health and like just topics that aren't really talked about, and just it's sort of like a little safe space for people to listen to me chat. So
Little Ames, it's called.
Little Ames.
She's undervaluing herself here, because she's got nearly 40,000 subscribers, so you know, she seems to do all right on the YouTube. Anyway, that's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Bye.